Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. Monday night here, trying to have some fun in the shop. Figured we'd crank out a few tool hauls. Just did some stuff from KC Tool, and what better way to balance that out than with stuff from Harbor Freight. So, first thing first, picking back up on this saga. You think, hey, that's that thing that just totally grenaded during your showcase, right? Same thing, different item. So this actually is currently functional. So I ran in this. I'm not feeling real good about that. I don't know if it's the entire batch from X date through Y date, if they're still coming out this way, if the distribution centers are all flooded with these. This is gonna go. Okay, I can tell you right now, it's gonna go. It's not supposed to sound like that or feel like that, but it's currently functional, right? So that's an upgrade from the last one. It does have a lifetime warranty. I basically walked in, had my receipt with me, had the thing, and the girl was like, what's going on? And so we grabbed a new one, and this was the best sounding of the batch. And like I said, it's gonna go. I just don't know when. So if they could get this to come out consistent, this would be fantastic. I'm sure you could break it, yes, but the concept, again, like I said in the original video, really good. So it's just you got to execute it, right? So yeah, the 3/8 is very dicey. Quarter, if we come in and spin this, like listen. Right, and we switch directions here. If I can see through the camera, which I can't, so we'll come here. That doesn't sound great, but it sounds really good and it feels smooth. And then this sounds bad and it is so rough. It's like this thing has been abused for, 5 years or something, and is hanging on to its last threads, but it's brand new. So it's one of those things. I think at some point in time, I would hope, like if I break this one and take it back and we're out of the 90 days or 30 days or whatever, it's lifetime warranty. I think eventually we'll get one that's like functional, and I'll be really happy when that happens. But for the meantime, before you buy one, try it, because it may not work, or it might be on the verge of not working. So that life lesson aside, let's jump in next with this right here. And you think, what is that? Why is that here? And this was free. The whatever weekend, it was real recent, maybe Easter or before Easter, somewhere in this time frame, right? If you went in the store, I think it was with any purchase. It might have been if you just asked for it. I really don't remember. But you're supposed to get the 4-in-1 screwdriver, the little blue thing. The store I was in at the time did not have any. They had run completely out. And so the girl said, well, we ran out of them, but you can have this. And I was like, I'll take it. And truth be told, I'm honestly not sure that this wouldn't be better for me than the screwdriver. In fact, I know it is. What this is just a little Pittsburgh, not Pittsburgh Pro, but 4-inch ratcheting bar clamp, and essentially just like my old Irwin's over there. It'll run down. There's a little drift pin at the back that keeps it from running out, which we'll probably knock that off, because truth be told, sometimes I like to flip these for nefarious purposes. But this was free. I really can't complain, and like I said, I honestly think I like this better than the screwdriver, so it's a total win in that case. Won't spend a ton of time on that. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. These were, I want to say, $5 off. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about U.S. General item number 721. That's what I'm talking about. And you think, hey, I don't know U.S. General item numbers, and I don't expect you to. That's why I have timestamps and links down below. Do I make a dime if you take that link and buy from Harbor Freight? I sure don't. Do I get merit points and certificates sent to me for helping them sell things? Absolutely not. I do that, why? Solely for your convenience. So what we have here is actually pretty nice, and you're going to see this in some videos real soon. It might even come before this tool haul. I don't know. It depends how things get structured, but this is a little magnetic socket rail, right? It's aluminum, and it's magnetic. It's not like the greatest magnet in the world, but it is magnetic. Case in point. We can, can we do anything? I don't know. Maybe we can't. Well, just take my word for it. There's magnets somewhere. Apparently there's one there. And is there a magnet anywhere else? Kind of at the end. Definitely a strong magnet there. And then nothing. Luckily I have another one of those acorn nuts. Yeah, let's play a game called Find the Frickin' Magnet. It's easy to tell. You've got one at this end. You've got one basically in the middle. And then note how I can slide this freely. Yeah. There's one kind of right in here. The reason that looks odd is this rail keeps going. So basically 3 magnets is what's there in this rail if you're curious. Now the issue here, this is 3/8 drive. They make them in 1/4 and 1/2 inch. I want to say everything Harbor Freight sells is going to be the same length, possibly with different numbers of tickets. There's a reason I got this, you'll see in future videos, but it's basically an 18-inch rail, okay? It has 16 pegs. There's a problem there. And if you think, well, what's the problem? It looks like a great rail. In fact, it looks similar to some that you might be familiar with on multiple fronts. Here's the issue. You can fit way more than 16 sockets on here. Okay, now this is like 3/4 drive. Okay, well, 16 sockets, you get a few extras because that ain't happening. 1/2 inch drive, I think we could probably fit 16, maybe have a little space. 3/8 drive, you can look at all this space, okay? You can fit, and in fact, it would even be less. You don't have to have this much between the smaller sizes. You kind of have wasted space, essentially, right? So, like, if they want this to have 16 sockets, it doesn't need to be 18 inches long. The other thing they could do to mitigate these complaints is simply sell the pegs separately, right? You know, like a pack 5, pack of 10, something along those lines, a mixed assortment of 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2, so you get suckered into buying the other rails you might not even gotten. Because 18 inches for 16 3/8 sockets is... You'll have a lot of real estate. You can space them however you would like, and you can get multiple fingers between all of them. So, but it's a pretty cool little setup. Do I foolishly take the sockets we just showcased? I did. I've got 1/4 drive stuff here all over the place. I've got 1/4 everywhere. I don't have 3/8 handy. You know how they work. It's pretty self-explanatory. I actually do have a ton of 3/8 sockets, and it's in this next item from Quinn. Not a planned segue, but it worked beautifully aside from me forgetting that they were here. And, what we have is one of these thingy-majigs. And if you're thinking like, oh no. Well, hear me out. This also was on a instant savings deal where it was like a really good price. And I kind of couldn't pass it up. Why? Roadside stuff, that's why. You don't want to take your Stavilla sockets, your Gador sockets, your Koken stuff maybe. You know, some of the Koken stuff's so affordable you might could swing it. But if you're like throwing a kit together to put, not like a service truck or like, yeah, you know, this truck's gonna not, if it breaks down, I've got everything I need to get back on the road type of deal. I'm talking about like your weekend fun car, right? Your show car, whatever. If you're even just like your kid's car, you don't want to load them down with your top tier tools, right? You just need something that's going to suffice if you ever need it or could walk them through something. And, you know, for example, belts thrown, or, you know, the water pump is out and you might have one because you're in a vehicle where you know it's going to go out type of a deal. Whatever the case might be, it's anything along those lines, unexpected, but something you can manage on the side of the road. And if you're curious, I drive with a lot of spare parts. So, it's one of those things. It's not necessarily like OE parts are really good and aftermarket parts are not. In fact, the aftermarket parts have gotten, you got high-end race stuff, you know, which you can kind of count on, but there's a lot of aftermarket parts. And I'm not talking like your cheap, you know, knockoff crud from AutoZone when I say that. I'm talking like well-known brands, you know, that are aftermarket performance, and they've gotten really questionable. Really questionable, and it sucks. And it's one of those things where used to, you know, like if you're in the Mopars, you need to drive around with multiple ignition boxes, right? Because you could very well have one that's brand new and it's a clunker. It might run great for a week, and then the next weekend you go out and you're like, what's wrong with the car? It can't be the ignition box, just change that. That's the first place you should look. Whatever new junk from overseas you put on your car recently, that's probably failed already. And because of that, you need to be prepared for some situations, so thermostats, water necks, just, little mundane things that, you let something cool down on the side of the road, you can swap it over type of a deal. If you're prone to throwing belts, maybe it's like a supercharger deal, you never know. It's good to have tools. It's good to have the parts, but you need the tools to put the parts on, take the old parts off, the failed parts off. And you don't necessarily want to have, $500,000 in 3/8 drive sockets sitting around, right? And that's where this comes in, because I think retail, these are like 25, somewhere in there, 25, 30. And on the instant savings, they're like, we're 14, 19. When you consider you're getting a 72 tooth ratchet and you're getting a decently comprehensive SAE and metric 12-point socket set, it's kind of hard to say no to when you think about it from that standpoint. Now, if you're coming in and going to build out a toolbox, at home, stationary, quality stuff, this might not be your first pick. You can maybe start with it, get by, see how long it lasts type of thing. Probably be pleasantly surprised, especially, like DIY, home game type stuff. But for throwing in the car and you hope you never need it, but you might, pretty good option, right? So that was my thoughts, and that's why it's here. 72 tooth quick release, so we'll take a look at that in more detail here in a second. Now, the reason I've bought, if you might remember, we have a 1/2-inch iteration of this, but it's from Pittsburgh. It has the black with green handled ratchet. Looks almost identical to this, except a little bit longer and 1/2-inch drive. It has the pretty much identical size markings here, but it doesn't do the color coding on the rails, and it, of course, I don't think has Pittsburgh blasted as much as Quinn. But these are very thin sockets. I would not recommend you put them on your little impact that you might have with you unless you want to wear them out. I think these do have a lifetime warranty for whatever that's worth, but at some point in time you have to say, hey, is it really worth going back to the store all these times, or do I just get something better? So bottom line, I would advise that you use this ratchet with these sockets. Okay, maybe in a pinch, the type of a thing, but just be aware you might have to replace that socket if you ever wanted to grab a fastener again. Ultimately, just don't expect the world from this thing. Kind of know what you've got, know what you have it for, be grateful you have it and didn't spend a ton of money, and see if you can't get by. So from our SAE front, I guess it's easier if I just read it up here. 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, half, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, 13/16, and 7/8. That's pretty comprehensive. At work I use 15/16 a ton, so I would gripe about that. Do I think you should have 15/16 and maybe larger sockets for other things like suspension issues? I kind of do, but I would also think you could very easily justify that in a 1/2-inch drive size. Again, we're not necessarily trying to make the world's smallest toolkit here. We're just trying to kind of cover the basics, right? Sometimes you got to have a tow truck, or hopefully a short push home type of a thing. But what's neat about this, you could easily come in and let's say that you've got your 68 Chevelle. Well, assuming you've kept it OE and haven't got modern motivation, if you will, this SAE stuff and this ratchet can come out and it can go in there. And then if you drive a 2015, we'll go F-150, because people in Ford and Chevys do weird stuff like that. They're not loyal. You can take your metric stuff that you actually need for that truck, just equip ratchet of your choice, Quinn, Pittsburgh, Icon, whatever you have sitting around at home, an old Craftsman, and you can basically divide and conquer, right? So in your modern truck, you're not going to have SAE needed, and in your old muscle car, you're not going to need metric, right? Unless, again, you've done some swapping around. You can divide and conquer that way. If it's a situation, maybe like in my truck, 01, maybe you're in that era where you've got a couple things metric and a couple things still old school, keep it together. If this is a situation where you just want this all together so you can cover your bases, you can make that happen as well. But on the metric front, what do we have? We have 10 through 19 with, they skip 18. The reason that becomes an issue, if you keep this set together, it's not an issue, but if you divide and conquer, you very well might need that 18mm at some point, and you're not going to have the SAE with you, so keep that in mind. Kind of strange that they did that they have a 16, they skipped the 18, but they kind of atone for it a little bit by putting a 22 there. So again, always, you know, think about what you have and what you need, and then what you're working on and what you have to take with you. So for the money, you really just can't go wrong with it, in my opinion, especially for these purposes. Again, you could absolutely start out with stuff like this, especially, you know, if you don't do much. Or you're just doing very, very light duty things, you know, to get you by, see how it holds up. And as funds allow, you know, in the future, you can upgrade, maybe pick up something that you know, want a little bit more or want to try out, or say, hey, you know, I got by with this Quinn set for 4 years, you know, more than paid for itself, it's still functional. I'm going to throw it in the truck and I'm going to buy something different for the house type of a deal, right? So it's just that type of a set. And, again, when you can catch these on sales or promotions, they're not the worst thing to pick up. So on that front, I do believe that is everything we've grabbed here. I guess I will go ahead and we'll cut this down and kind of try to free these sockets a little bit so you can kind of take a look at them, which is always an interesting process with stuff like this. So we'll showcase that, and then I guess we will wrap this video up. 5 painstaking minutes later, we have this thing functional. It's basically a cable tie here, and then a ton of snips here, and then you have to come and pull the ends out through the socket. But anything that we grab right now, we can basically rip off, and there's no rough plastic or cable tie going to cut us. Again, 3H drive. What did we grab here? Well, just a random socket. I couldn't even tell you. I'm going to zoom in. Obviously, metric is going to be the blue filled paint. This is the 15mm. You've got Quinn branding, which is really large. I could do without that and just having like more of a, you know, focus on the size etching. This one is not grossly undersized. Some of the larger sizes a little bit more disproportionate. You do have chamfered ends on them. The Ratchet, again, 72 tooth. This is fine, unlike the, you know, great concept back there. This actually, you know, functions. It feels about right, like a 72 tooth should. It's not the greatest ratchet in the world, but for the price point, we can't really complain too much. It's quick release as well. Fitment is okay. And bottom line, if you needed to use this in a pinch, it's functional. And that's all we can ask for at this price point with what we plan to do. So again, that kind of wraps this up. Will this be its final resting form? It's doubtful, but I can tell you this. If you want it to be, provided you come in and do a good job snipping here and then pulling everything out. Okay, well, the Ratchet doesn't want to stay, but the sockets, you know, they could eventually rattle loose and over time wear down. But I mean, for just a makeshift, throw this literally in your trunk or your glove box or center console, it's not a bad pickup, really. So again, kind of pick your poison. Pittsburgh, Quinn, you know, they sort of go back and forth price-wise. Whatever's the better economic decision, really. Quinn would technically, on the Harbor Freight hierarchy, you know, be ranked a little higher, but I don't know that there would be a ton of difference between these if you were to break it down and do all the analytics on them. But anyway, that is it. We got a free 4-inch clamp. We've got our, again, that ratcheting wrench would be like a really great product if we had one that I felt like wasn't going to grenade. And this, again, you're going to see a video on it here shortly. Really nice pickup, and cannot really complain, aside from how ridiculous it is to have to come in and cut all this for the price that we paid for this and what you get. So that wraps it up for this Harbor Freight iteration. If you've used any of these, let me know. How do you feel about these? Do you keep them just like this, throw them in a toolbox, trunk, center console, give them to the kids? What are you doing with these? Similarly, with our rail here, if you've picked these up, did you know US General had this? Maybe you're just going for like the colored peg style holders. This is an option. It's kind of one of their more premium ones, if I had to put my sense on it. Little clamps. Did you get one instead of the screwdriver? Did your store also run out? I'm not sure that this wouldn't be, like I said, the better product and definitely better for me anyway, so I'm not going to complain because it was free. And then right here, if you have this, we're going to bring it up again. If you've either A, bought it recently, or B, you broke yours, you know, putting way too much torque or leverage on it, sheared it off or something crazy. When you went back to the store, are you having the same problem I am with these 3H drive-ins? Because that is just, that's raunchy, man. I'm telling you, nothing, I don't care what country it comes from, nothing should be sent out the door that functions in that manner. But I've got a battery light flashing, which was unexpected. So let me know your thoughts on all this stuff, what you have, what your experiences are, what you do differently. Quinn versus Pittsburgh, you know, in terms of these little sets, do you notice a difference? Is it really like, oh, hey, you know, no, buddy, Quinn really is better? Or, you know, those are exactly the same, minus the colors and some slight aesthetic upgrades. If you've taken the time to break that down and compare and contrast, let me know your thoughts. If you want to see me do that, I can make it happen. Just leave enough comments and maybe we'll throw something together. But on that front, I'm going to spend a little more time out here, apparently getting to work in peace with no camera to distract me, and take advantage of my Monday night here. So hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Again, first-hand feedback, your thoughts and opinions, always welcome down below in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you jump your charger across the creek and ring the bell, YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and most importantly, have yourself a fantastic weekend. I hope I can catch you back here for more action from the shop.